My wife got pregnant. I was happy. A month later, she accidentally fell down the stairs and miscarried. I was devastated. A week later, I found her diary. In it, she wrote in detail about how she didn't want a child. For 3 years, she lied about wanting children. She married for my money. My name, let's call me Mark. I'm 35 years old. I live in Seattle, Washington. I've been married for 3 years to a woman I'll call Caitlin. This is a story about betrayal that broke my heart and shattered my dreams of having a family. Caitlin and I met 4 years ago through mutual friends at a party. She worked at a marketing agency, and I was a financial analyst at a large investment firm in Seattle. I was making a good living, around $200,000 a year. I'm not bragging, but it's important to understand what happened next. Caitlin was making a more modest living, around $45,000 a year. We dated for about a year. We fell in love. She was cheerful, vibrant, full of energy. She loved traveling, good restaurants, and shopping. I could afford it, and I loved making her happy. When we started talking seriously about the future, I raised a question that was crucial for me. Caitlin, do you want children someday? She smiled broadly. Of course I do. I've always dreamed of a big family, 2 or 3 children at least, maybe even 4. My heart sang. Children have been my dream my whole life. Me too. Children are the most important thing in my life. I want to be a father more than anything. Then we're perfect for each other, she said, kissing me. We got married a year after dating. A beautiful wedding at a country hotel, a honeymoon in Hawaii. Everything was perfect. After the wedding, literally on the first night in our new house, I asked, Caitlin, when should we start trying? I'm ready right now. I can't wait for our baby to arrive. She laughed. Mark, honey, let's wait a little. I want to advance a little in my career first. Get a promotion. A year or 2, tops, and then we'll start. Okay? I agreed. It sounded reasonable. Women want to establish themselves in their careers first. I understood that. A year passed. I brought up the subject again. Caitlin, maybe it's time. It's been a year, just like you wanted. Just a little longer, honey. I just got a promotion at work. I want to establish myself in my new position. Another 6 months, okay? Okay, I said, not wanting to push it. A second year passed. Caitlin, I'm already 34. I don't want to drag out having children for too long. I understand, honey. Soon, I promise. But you promised a year ago. Mark, don't pressure me, please. This is an important decision. I need to feel ready. I was backing down. I didn't want to fight. 3rd year of marriage. I'm 35. I started insisting more seriously. Caitlin, we've been putting it off for 3 years. We both said we wanted kids. We're financially stable. We have a big house. I'm ready. Let's finally start trying. She sighed heavily. You're right. I know. Okay. Let's start. We stopped using contraception. I was over the moon. Finally, my dream of having children would begin to come true. 2 months later, she came to me with a pregnancy test in her hand. Mark, I'm pregnant. 2 lines. I screamed with joy. I picked her up and twirled her around. Yes, she smiled. We're going to be parents. I cried with happiness. I hugged her. I kissed her. It was the happiest day of my life since our wedding. Finally, our baby. My dream is coming true. The first weeks of Caitlin's pregnancy were acting strange. She wasn't joyful. She wasn't excited. She was just neutral, as if pregnancy were an ordinary, insignificant event. Caitlin, are you happy? I asked one evening. You seem so distant. Of course I'm happy, Mark. I'm just sick with nausea. Morning sickness, you know. It's hard. I understand. How can I help? Get you something? Do something? No, just give me space. I need space. She became very distant. She didn't want to discuss baby names. She didn't want to look at baby clothes in stores. She didn't want to plan a nursery. Caitlin, let's go shopping and look at strollers. Or should we at least start planning how to set up the nursery? It's too early, Mark. The first trimester is the most dangerous. Let's wait until the second trimester. But can we at least discuss names? What will we name the baby? Mark, don't rush me. I'm pregnant. It's hard for me physically and emotionally, and you keep pushing and pushing. I backed down every time. I thought it was just hormones, morning sickness. Pregnant women have a hard time. I have to be understanding. We made an appointment for our first ultrasound at 6 weeks. In the office, the doctor turned on the ultrasound machine and began moving the transducer over Caitlin's belly. Here's your baby. See that little dot? That's the gestational sac. And here's the heartbeat. Everything looks great, I cried, looking at the black and white screen. That little flickering dot. Our baby's heartbeat. Our baby. Real. Alive. Caitlin stared at the screen completely emotionless, just staring. Caitlin, do you see? That's our baby. His heartbeat is beating. Yes, Mark, I see. No joy in her voice, no excitement, nothing. I chalked it up to morning sickness and hormones. I thought she'd be more excited when she got better. It happened in the 8th week of pregnancy, a Sunday morning in mid-November. I was downstairs in the kitchen making breakfast for both of us. I was making pancakes, Caitlin's favorite food. Suddenly, I heard a scream, then a crash, the sound of a body falling down the stairs. I dropped everything and ran to the stairs. Caitlin was lying at the bottom of the stairs, writhing in pain, clutching her stomach. Caitlin! I dropped to my knees next to her. What happened? Are you okay? I slipped, fell down the stairs. Mark, my stomach. It hurts. Oh my God, don't move. I'm going to call an ambulance. I grabbed the phone and called an ambulance. I explained the situation. My pregnant wife had fallen down the stairs. The ambulance arrived in 10 minutes, the longest 10 minutes of my life. At the hospital, they took us straight to the emergency room. The doctor did an ultrasound. He stared at the screen for a long time, too long, silent. Then he turned to us with a sad expression. I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat. You've lost the baby. The fall caused a placental abruption and the fetus stopped growing. The world collapsed. Everything disappeared. What? No. That can't be true. Check again. I checked twice. I'm truly so sorry. We're going to need to perform a procedure to... I didn't hear anything else. I just sat there and cried, sobbed like a baby. Our baby. Our little one, whose heart I saw beating 2 weeks ago, dead. Caitlin lay on the hospital bed. There were a few tears on her face, but something in her eyes was off. Not grief, not soul-destroying. Something else. Relief? No, I just imagined it. She's in shock. People react to shock differently. The week after the miscarriage, I was absolutely devastated. I couldn't work. I took a week off. I stayed home. Our baby was due in 7.5 months, in June. I could already imagine holding him in my arms, teaching him to walk, playing with him in the park, reading him bedtime stories. All of that was shattered in an instant. Caitlin was strangely calm. Too calm for someone who had just lost a child. Caitlin, how are you? Let's talk about it. We need to support each other. I don't want to talk about it, Mark. I just want to forget it and move on. But we lost a child. Our child. It's normal to grieve, to cry, to talk about it. It was an 8-week embryo, Mark. Technically, it's not even a baby yet. It was just an embryo. Her coldness cut me like a knife. How can you say that? It was our baby. We saw its heartbeat. I'm just being realistic. Miscarriages happen. It's nature. We'll try again when we're ready. When will we be ready? We were ready. We tried. We wanted this baby. Mark, stop. I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. She went into another room and closed the door. I tried to understand. I tried to be supportive. I thought she was dealing with her grief in her own way, that she was just hiding the pain inside. But doubts were growing inside me. Something was wrong. Very wrong. A week after the miscarriage, I decided to clean the house. I wanted to keep myself busy, to take my mind off the pain, at least for a while. I was cleaning the living room, vacuuming. I decided to move the sofa so I could vacuum underneath it. A lot of dust tends to accumulate there. As I pulled the sofa away from the wall, something fell between the sofa and the wall. A thin book. I picked it up. It was a diary. Dark brown leather cover. Expensive looking. I opened to the first page. Caitlin's handwriting. Caitlin's personal diary. If you find this, please put it back and do not read. This is my personal space. I should have put the diary back. It was the right thing to do. It was respectful of her privacy. But something, some instinct, some premonition, made me continue opening the diary. I flipped to the last entry. A week ago. The day of the miscarriage. I began reading, and what I read changed my whole life. Sunday, November 12th. Finally free. Finally, this nightmare is over. Everything went exactly according to plan. I went up the stairs early in the morning when Mark was in the kitchen making breakfast. I deliberately pushed myself forward and fell. It hurt, I won't lie. But it was necessary. It looked exactly like an accident. Mark didn't suspect anything. The doctors at the hospital didn't suspect anything either. The miscarriage happened, as expected from such a fall. The baby is dead. I'm free. Mark is absolutely heartbroken. He cries every day. I feel guilty looking at him. But I know I did the right thing for myself. Children are the end of my freedom, the end of traveling, the end of shopping, the end of restaurants, the end of life. Everything turns into diapers, sleepless nights, childhood illnesses, school reunions. No thanks. Plus, kids mean the end of the money Mark spends on me. It'll all go toward the baby. I'll lose my lifestyle. I never wanted kids. Never. From the start. But Mark makes $200,000 a year. I can't afford to lose that lifestyle. The house, the car, the travel, the expensive stuff. So I lied to him for 3 years about wanting kids. I put it off as much as I could. Career, not ready, just a little more time. When he started pushing too hard this year, I realized I had to agree. Otherwise, he'd suspect I didn't want kids and might get divorced. I got pregnant. It was horrible. 8 weeks of nausea, fear, and the horror of having a baby growing inside me. But it's all over. Everything went according to plan. He'll never know the truth. I'll feign grief and mourning for another month or 2. Then I'll tell Mark I'm not psychologically ready to try again. That I need more time. I can hold out for another year or 2. And then I'll tell him I went to the doctors and they found problems. I can't have children for medical reasons. He'll stay with me out of pity and a sense of duty. Money, a comfortable life, no children, the perfect plan. He'll never know what I did. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the diary. I read that entry over and over again. I couldn't believe it. She fell down the stairs on purpose, killed our child. Faked an accident. She never wanted children. Lied to me for 3 years. Married for my money. Our entire marriage is a lie. I flipped back through the diary. Entries from the last 3 years of marriage. Each entry was like a knife to the heart. Mark started talking about kids again today. I told him I wanted to get a promotion first. He fell for it, as always. He's so naive. He bought me a new $3,000 Louis Vuitton bag today. He didn't even blink. His money is so wonderful, I can't lose it. I'm afraid Mark will soon realize I don't want kids. I have to keep playing the part. Pretend I'm just not ready. I can last another year. Sometimes I feel sorry for Mark. He wants to be a father so much. But my freedom is more important than his wishes. 3 years. Every single day is a performance. A lie. Manipulation. I loved this woman with all my heart, and she was just playing the part, using me, and she killed our child, my child, on purpose. I'm sitting on the living room floor holding my breath. My hands are shaking so badly I can't hold my diary. My child. She killed my child. Intentionally. In cold blood. And for 3 years she lied to me about the most important thing. What should I do? Confrontation? The police? Divorce? Is it a crime? She killed my child on purpose? I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know what I decide. Update 1. 3 days later. Consultation with a lawyer and confrontation. 3 days had passed since I found Caitlin's diary. 3 days during which I hadn't slept properly, hadn't eaten. I simply reread the photos of the diary entries over and over again, unable to believe it was happening. I couldn't let it go. I really wanted this child. I consulted with a lawyer secretly while Caitlin was at work. A family law attorney, let's call him James, listened to my story. I showed him photos of the diary pages. "Mark, this is a very complicated legal situation," he said seriously. "Technically, she committed fetal homicide, but proving intent in court will be virtually impossible without her confession." "But I have the diary, her own words." "The diary is her personal writing. The defense will argue that this is simply her fantasy, her imagination, her way of coping with the grief of a miscarriage. The court may not accept this as evidence of criminal intent. So she can simply avoid criminal punishment for killing my child? Unfortunately, most likely yes. But you can and should divorce her. And in civil court, you can use the diary as evidence of deception and fraud in the marriage. This will affect the division of property in your favor." I decided, confrontation first. I want to hear the truth from her own lips. I want to look her in the eye when she confesses. That evening, when Caitlin returned from work, I was sitting in the living room, waiting for her. She walked in, smiling. "Hi, honey. How was your day?" I silently placed the diary on the coffee table in front of the sofa. She looked down. She saw the diary. Her face instantly paled. The smile disappeared. "What? Where did you get that?" "Fell behind the couch while I was cleaning, reading it. That's it." "You read my diary? You had no right." "I had every right to know the truth about who killed my child." Silence. She looked at me, her eyes wide. "Caitlin," my voice was icy, "did you fall down the stairs on purpose?" Silence. "Answer me. You killed our child on purpose?" "Mark, I can explain." 3 years. For 3 years you lied to me about you wanted children? I changed my mind, okay? People have the right to change their minds. You didn't change your mind. You never wanted it. You've been liar from day one. Okay, yes, I didn't want kids, but you did. I couldn't tell you the truth. Because I would not have married you. Exactly, and I would have lost it all. She gestured furiously around our house. This house, the money, the travel, the expensive things, the lifestyle. You married me for my money, not me, for money. Not just for money. I love you too, but yes, money was a very important factor. And the baby? Our baby? Did you really fall down the stairs on purpose? A long pause. A very long pause. Then she quietly, "Yes. I pushed on purpose. It was meant to look like an accident. And it did. You killed my baby. You killed it. It was an 8-week embryo. Technically, it's not even a baby yet. For me, it was my baby. My dream." She sighed wearily. "Mark, I didn't mean to hurt you. I really did. But I just can't have children. It would ruin my whole life." Your life? And what about my life, my dreams? Your dreams are not my responsibility. I have a right to my own life. You promised. On our wedding day, we talked about children. I've changed my mind. No, you lied. I picked up the diary from the table. Go away, right now. Pack your things and get out of my house. This is my house too. The house is in my name. I bought it before we got married. Leave, or I'll call the police. Mark, please, leave. She packed a few things. She went to her friend's place. Let's call her Melissa. I was left alone in the house. I sat on the couch and cried. My wife killed our child. On purpose. In cold blood. For money and freedom. 3 days of hell. Lawyer, confrontation, confession. She killed my child on purpose. Confessed to my face. She lied for 3 years. All for money. The lawyer says a criminal case is almost impossible to win. But a divorce with compensation is possible. Should I still go to the police? Or should I file for divorce right away? I'll write after the decision. Continued with all other updates. Update 2. A week later, an attempt to go to the police. A week has passed since the confrontation. Caitlin is staying with a friend. She calls every day, asking to talk. I don't answer. I went to the police with the diary. I wanted justice. I wanted her to answer for the murder of my child. I told the detective everything. Showed the diary. Gave photocopies of the pages. The detective, let's call him Robert, studied the entries for a long time. Then he looked at me with sympathy. Mr. Mark, I understand your pain, and I'm truly sorry, but this isn't murder in the legal sense of the word under our state law. An 8-week fetus isn't considered a person legally, but she intentionally harmed herself to induce a miscarriage. That's intentional murder. Legally, a woman has the right to an abortion up to a certain point in her pregnancy. Even though she did it through a fall and not through a medical procedure, she technically didn't break the law. So she can simply avoid any liability for this? Criminally, unfortunately, yes. But you can use it in a civil case, divorce, division of property, compensation for emotional distress, and fraud. The diary will be strong evidence. The police decided not to open a criminal case. Legally, Caitlin hadn't broken any laws. I was furious, desperate, but there was nothing I could do. My lawyer, James, said, Mark, I understand your frustration, but let's focus on what we can control. We're going for divorce. We have compelling evidence of deception. We can deprive her of child support, sue for most of her property, and obtain compensation for emotional distress. I filed for divorce. The charges in the documents: marital deception, fraud, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I attached the diary as key evidence. The police are powerless. The law is not on my side criminally, but divorce is justice I can get. I'll write after the trial. Update 3. 1 month later, divorce and court decision. It's been a month since the divorce was filed. The divorce trial took place last week. Caitlin came with her lawyer. She tried to deny everything. Your Honor, the diary is just my personal fantasy, a way to cope with the grief of a miscarriage. I wrote my dark thoughts in it, but that doesn't mean I actually did it. The judge, an elderly woman with a stern face, studied the diary for a long time. These entries are extremely detailed, she finally said. They are consistent. They cover a 3-year period. They contain specific dates, events, amounts of money. These are not fantasies or a way to cope with grief. They are actual records of real events and thoughts. My lawyer, James, provided additional evidence. A diary with entries from 3 years' chat messages between Caitlin and her friends, where she asked, "How can I avoid pregnancy without my husband finding out I'm using birth control?" Testimony from mutual friends, to whom Caitlin told, "I hate children, but Mark wants them so much, I don't know how to say no to him." A bank transaction history showing that Caitlin spent huge sums of my money on herself. The judge ruled, 1. The divorce is granted unconditionally. 2. Caitlin does not receive child support. Marriage less than 5 years plus proven deception and fraud. 3. Property division. Mark receives 80% of the marital property. Caitlin receives 20% due to proven deception in the marriage. 4. Caitlin is ordered to pay Mark $50,000 in damages. Caitlin cried in the courtroom. "It's unfair. I've lost everything. I have nothing left." The judge looked at her coldly. "You systematically deceived your husband for 3 years over the most important issue, your desire to have children. You faked a miscarriage, intentionally harming yourself. You married for financial reasons, not out of love. These are the consequences of your own actions, Mrs. Caitlin. The divorce has been finalized. Caitlin must vacate my house within 30 days. 1. Was I right to try to prosecute her, even knowing it was nearly impossible? 2. Is it ever possible to forgive such betrayal? 3. How do you learn to trust again after someone has lied to you for years? I survived. I'm slowly recovering. I'm learning to live again. But the scar on my heart will remain forever. P.S. For those who say, miscarriages happen, maybe it really was an accident. I saw her diary, her own words. She confessed. It wasn't an accident. P.P.S. Look at people's actions, not just their words. Words are cheap. Actions reveal the truth. P.P.P.S. If your partner constantly puts off something important to you, children, wedding, moving, ask yourself, maybe they don't even want it and are just waiting for you to give in. Thank you to everyone who read this difficult story to the end. Protect your dreams. Don't let people take advantage of you.